Hi everyone, my name is Paige. I am a lifestyle photographer based in Paris, France. I do work both with individuals and with companies, and I just have a quick tip for you today. Okay, so my quick tip for you today is actually about film photography. As you may know, if you've been following me on social media for a while, or if you read my blog, I've been doing photography for about 10 years now, maybe 11, and I actually started learning on a film camera with a manual focus lens, black and white film that I developed myself. Very old school, very fun, and as I've been getting back into shooting film this year, I remembered something that I love about manual focus lenses. So, this is my baby, my film baby. It's my Minolta X-700. It shoots 35mm film, and is manual focus only. Manual focus can be a little frustrating sometimes for shoots where you have to move quickly, but there is a convenient little thing on manual focus lenses that helps you when you have to move fast. That is called zone focusing, or the technique is called zone focusing. So we're gonna cut to B-roll at some point here. But on the top of the lens, modern lenses don't have this. Let's see if I can grab a modern lens. For comparison, I have a autofocus Nikkor 1 to 1.8 35mm lens, and on my Minolta I also have a 35mm lens. This is Minolta brand, and it goes down to f2.8. So as you can see on the top of this, we have two dials. We have the aperture dial and we have the focus dial. On the autofocus lens, the aperture dial is no more. If you are very used to film cameras or older cameras in general, that might be something you miss, but for those of us who learned on digital or autofocus cameras, that might not be something you ever knew you were missing. So this just has the one dial, and it is the focus dial. So the convenient thing about having two dials, let me put this away, magic. The convenient thing about having two dials is that they actually can give you extra information when you see them next to each other. The focus distance is written directly on the dial in both meters and in feet, so 0.3 meters, 1 foot, etc., all the way to infinity. And on the aperture, it goes from 2.8 to 22. This part in the middle that does not move has markings. This particular one does not have one for 2.8, although most lenses, other lenses might. But it does have 4, 8, 11, which is not written on here, 16, and 22, just marked off distant from this center point. They're equidistant on either side. But when you turn the focus, the numbers line up differently, and it'll show you how much of a range you have for your depth of field, depending on the aperture you're at and depending on how close you're focusing. Say I am shooting something 4 meters away, 12 feet, just because that's easy math. That, when it's in focus, is going to line up directly with that big line right there. Let's say I'm shooting at f11, so I move this to f11, and I have that lined up at the 4. So the 11, as you can see, goes to just past the 6 feet and a little bit more than that past the 2 meters on the left side from my perspective, so closer to you. And then on the opposite side from that, it goes just past infinity. So that means that when I have it in that spot and I'm shooting at f11, everything between 6 feet and infinity, forever, is going to be in focus. That means that if I'm walking around town and I don't want to take any time to focus at all, I'm trying to shoot something really quickly, all you have to keep in mind is the zone that's in focus. So I know that if I point this camera, if I just keep it at this setting, anywhere from 6 feet away from me and beyond, that's going to be in focus. So that can be really, really useful if you're doing travel photography, if you are doing street photography, if you just want to be able to pick up your camera and shoot, even in the context of a wedding or something like that, and you just know you won't have time to focus, and you want to make sure that everything will be in focus, that's a good way to go. So it doesn't have to be all the way to infinity. You can twist that. Let's say you want, let's keep it at f11 because that's kind of fun. Let's say you want to shoot 3 feet away, which is about 0.9 meters according to this. They're not marked exactly in the same spot, but let's say 3 feet, you're shooting f11. So since it's closer to, your zone is going to be smaller. At f11, you'll get down to 2.5, that's your closest, and your furthest is going to be about 4 feet. That's a much smaller range, so that can be a lot harder if you're doing quick street photography. But if you're in a situation where you're shooting a model or a friend, the distance between 2.5 and 4 feet is still significant enough that you know that you'll get their whole body in focus, maybe a little in front or behind them depending on where they're positioned, and you don't have to worry about it. There are definitely reasons you might not want to use zone focusing. One of the main ones for me is that zone focusing works best at high apertures. I would say f8 or f11 and above. So that's great if what you're doing is mostly street photography or fashion work or studio work, things where you want to have a wide depth of field. Perfect, you're in the sweet spot. If you are me and you do mostly lifestyle work, if you do a lot of portraiture, you might be more comfortable down at on this lens, f2.8 or f4. And in that case, you're really just not going to have much of a zone to work with. So it might not be your ideal thing. You might be better off just looking through the viewfinder and focusing like you're probably used to doing already. The other factor here is how close your subject is. So if you're shooting a subject that is relatively far away, you will get a greater zone in terms of number of feet that you can go in either direction, or even number of meters. If you're focusing pretty close up, that goes way down. So if you're focusing on something that is a foot away or a foot and a half away, your zone is going to be pretty narrow. It's going to be a matter of inches, if that, depending on your aperture. So that is something you should take into consideration. It's a lot better for things like street photography, where you know you're going to be at least 6-10 feet away from your subject, probably, and not right in their face. If you are going to be right in someone's face, take the time, look through the viewfinder, focus on their eyes, you know the drill. And then the third thing is how good you are at judging distances. So I'm not great at this. I have a lot of trouble telling you if something is 10 feet away or 20 feet away. Some people can tell you that this subject is 10 feet away, that subject is 6.5 feet away, and this thing over here is, I don't know, 28 inches. If you are good at that, if you're confident in your ability to know how far away things are from you pretty accurately, then this will be great for you. If you are like me and you are not as great at estimating, then I would definitely hedge your bets. If you're going to use this, shoot as high as you can on the aperture front, and definitely use it more when you know your subjects are further away, because the difference that it makes between, you know, so at f22 on this lens, you can get from 2.5 feet to 2 on the short end to a little over 4 on the far end. That's a decent range, but still not that huge of a range if you're not good at this, at estimating. If you're focusing on something 6 feet away at f22, you get all the way from 3 feet to infinity. So that's a lot of a safer zone for you. So definitely err on that side if this is something you're new to and if you're not super confident in your ability to judge distances. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something. If you're new to manual focus cameras or manual focus lenses, I hope this is a new way for you to get out there and enjoy. I know it's not something that I realized existed when I first started shooting manual, so maybe it'll open a new door, even if you've been doing it for a while. If you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you could give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment if you have a comment or a question. I will be there and I would love to answer any questions you have. I will leave links to my social media, my website, etc. And please get in touch, stay in touch, subscribe if you're interested in more videos like this, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Learning blah blah blah. Nope. So now that I've done that intro 12 million times, film this year. Neighbors! And it talks to the lens through, you know, the wires. They're not wires. Nope, they're not done. They are not done, friends. What are they doing? What time is it? Okay.